Seneca once said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." And brother, if that doesn't hit you right between the eyes, you haven't been paying attention to what's happening to your blood pressure lately. You know what really gets my goat? When some knucklehead half your age thinks they can disrespect you just because you've got a few more miles on the odometer. Or when your own grown kids act like everything you taught them went in one ear and out the other. I'm talking to folks who remember when a handshake meant something, when people said yes sir and no ma'am, and when respect wasn't something you had to beg for, like a dog begging for scraps. You've lived through more history than most people will ever read about. You survived the Cold War, watched man walk on the moon, built careers with your bare hands, and raised families when raising families actually meant something. You've earned your stripes, paid your dues, and deserve better than letting some yahoo ruin your day. But here's what's eating at you, and I know this because I've been there myself. You're tired. Tired of defending common sense to people who wouldn't know sense of it bit 'em on the backside. Tired of watching the world go to hell in a handbasket while everyone acts like you're the problem for noticing. Maybe it's that cashier who treats you like you're invisible. Maybe it's your neighbor who plays music loud enough to wake the dead. Could be your own flesh and blood who seem to think everything you believe is outdated. And every single time you feel that familiar heat rising up your neck, your heart starts pounding like a bass drum at a 4th of July parade, and you know darn well your blood pressure is shooting up faster than gas prices in the Carter administration. Your doctor's probably already told you to reduce stress, as if that's some kind of revelation. But nobody tells you how to do that when you're surrounded by people who seem determined to test your patience every single day. Here's the thing that'll blow your mind, and I'm going to prove this to you in the next 35 minutes. Getting steamed up about these knuckleheads is like drinking poison and expecting them to get sick. You're the one who ends up in the emergency room, not them. Before we dive into this life-changing stuff, do me a favor. If you're tired of letting other people control your emotions, if you're sick of your blood pressure spiking every time someone acts like a fool, hit that subscribe button right now. Think of it as joining a club of folks who've decided that peace of mind is worth more than being right about everything. Trust me, your heart will thank you, your family will thank you, and you'll sleep better at night. Now, I know what you're thinking. Easy for you to say. But stick with me, because I'm about to share wisdom that's older than baseball and more reliable than your grandfather's Buick. This isn't some new age nonsense or feel-good psychology. This is battle-tested wisdom from men who faced real challenges and came out stronger. In the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you why getting mad is like trying to fix a flat tire by kicking it. It might make you feel better for a second, but it doesn't solve the problem, and you might hurt your foot in the process. Later on, I'll share a simple trick that Ronald Reagan used when dealing with difficult people, from Hollywood prima donnas to world leaders, that'll change how you handle your most frustrating relationships. And I'll tell you about a conversation technique that Frank Sinatra used that could turn your most difficult family member into your biggest supporter. But first, I need to ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. When was the last time you felt truly at peace? When was the last time you went through an entire day without someone or something getting under your skin? If you can't remember, you're not alone. And if you think that's just how life is supposed to be at our age, you're dead wrong. You didn't survive everything you survived just to spend your golden years letting knuckleheads live rent-free in your head. You've got wisdom to share, love to give, and good years ahead of you if you stop letting other people steal your joy. So buckle up, because we're about to take a journey that'll change how you see difficult people, challenging situations, and most importantly, how you see yourself. But first, let me tell you about a phrase that used to mean something in America.
They don't make 'em like they used to. Bet you said that more times than you can count. And you know what? You're absolutely right. Kids today don't have the same respect. Work ethic seems to have gone out the window, and don't even get me started on how they treat their elders. But here's what Marcus Aurelius figured out 2,000 years ago, and this guy was running the Roman Empire while you and I complain about our neighborhood. He said that getting upset about how other people behave is like being mad at a fig tree for not producing apples. You see, back in your day, people were raised different. Your parents probably didn't ask you what you wanted for dinner. You ate what was on the table and said thank you. But expecting today's world to operate by yesterday's rules is like trying to watch your favorite TV show on a radio. Now, I'm not saying you should lower your standards. Lord knows we need more people with backbone. But here's the secret sauce. You can hold yourself to the highest standards while accepting that others might be operating with a different playbook. Think about it like this. You wouldn't get mad at a toddler for not knowing calculus, would you? Well, some adults are emotional toddlers. They haven't learned what you've learned in your decades of experience. And here's something that'll really cook your noodle. When you stop expecting everyone to meet your standards, you actually become more influential, not less. People start looking up to you instead of avoiding you. Later, I'm going to tell you about a conversation technique that Frank Sinatra used that could turn your most difficult family member into your biggest fan. But first, we need to talk about why getting angry is literally killing you.
You know what really burns my biscuits? When someone has the nerve to steal your joy, your peace, your whole dang day, and you let them get away with it. It's like this. Imagine you're at a baseball game. And I know you remember when baseball was America's pastime, not this newfangled stuff. The pitcher throws you a curveball, maybe even aims for your head. Now, you've got two choices. You can charge the mound and get thrown out of the game, or you can step back, adjust your stance, and knock the next one out of the park. Life's the same way. People are gonna throw you curveballs, rude cashiers, know-it-all relatives, neighbors who play their music too loud. But here's the million-dollar question. Are you gonna let them control your swing? Seneca. This was a guy who advised emperors and knew a thing or two about dealing with difficult people. He said something that'll stick with you. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. I learned this lesson the hard way when my neighbor decided to build a fence that blocked my garden view. I spent weeks steaming about it, lost sleep, raised my blood pressure, made my wife miserable. Then it hit me like a ton of bricks. This guy was living rent-free in my head. So I did something that would have made Clint Eastwood proud. I planted taller flowers. Problem solved. And I got a beautiful garden out of the deal. The truth is, every time you let someone else's behavior dictate your emotions, you're giving them the remote control to your life. And buddy, that's your remote control. Nobody else should be changing your channels. Coming up, I'm going to share a technique that'll help you lower your blood pressure in real time. And trust me, your doctor will wonder what expensive medication you started taking.
Now, let's talk turkey about something that hits close to home for folks our age: your health. You didn't survive the Cold War, raise kids, and build a career just to let some yahoo give you a heart attack, did you? Here's a fact that'll knock your socks off. When you get angry, your blood pressure shoots up faster than gas prices in the 70s. Your heart starts pounding like it's trying to escape your chest. Stress hormones flood your system, and your immune system takes a nosedive. At our age, that's not just uncomfortable, it's downright dangerous. The Mayo Clinic says chronic anger increases your risk of heart disease, stroke, and a whole laundry list of problems that could send you to the emergency room. But here's what they don't tell you in those fancy medical journals. Every minute you spend angry is 60 seconds of peace you'll never get back. As my grandfather used to say, "Son, you can't unring a bell." I remember reading about a study where they hooked people up to machines to measure their stress responses. Know what they found? People who practiced what we're talking about today have the heart health of folks 20 years younger. 20 years! Now, I'm not saying you should become a doormat. Nobody respected Casper Milquetoast. But there's a difference between standing your ground and letting someone live rent-free in your arteries. Here's a quick technique that works better than counting sheep. When you feel that familiar heat rising up your neck, Take a deep breath and ask yourself this question. Will this matter in 5 years? Most times, it won't matter in 5 minutes. Epictetus, who knew a thing or two about hardship, this man was a slave before he became one of history's greatest teachers. He said that people aren't disturbed by things, but by their opinions about things. Think about that for a second. The rude teenager at the grocery store isn't ruining your day. Your opinion about his behavior is ruining your day. And the beautiful thing about opinions, you can change them faster than you can change the TV channel. Now, speaking of family, and I know this one's going to hit home for a lot of you, let me tell you what to do when your own flesh and blood don't seem to appreciate everything you've done for them.
This one's going to sting a little, but we need to talk about it. What do you do when your own children, the ones you sacrificed everything for, act like they know better than you? Maybe it's your daughter who never calls unless she needs money, or your son who thinks your old-fashioned values are outdated. Maybe it's watching your grandkids being raised completely different from how you raised their parents. Boy, does that get your dander up, doesn't it? Here's what Ronald Reagan understood, and this man knew how to handle difficult personalities, from Hollywood divas to Soviet leaders. He said, "Peace is not absence of conflict, it is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means." The hard truth is this: your kids are grown-ups now. They're going to make their own mistakes just like you did when you were their age. Remember how you felt when your parents tried to tell you how to live your life? But here's the secret that most parents never learn. The more you chase after their approval and respect, the less likely you are to get it. It's like trying to catch a butterfly. The harder you chase, the further it flies away. I know a gentleman, let's call him Bill, who was constantly at odds with his adult son. Every conversation turned into an argument about politics, money, or how to raise the grandkids. Bill's blood pressure was through the roof. He wasn't sleeping, and his wife was threatening to lock him out of the house if he didn't stop ranting. Then Bill learned something that changed everything. Instead of trying to fix his son, he started focusing on being the kind of father he wished he'd had. He stopped giving unsolicited advice and started asking questions. Instead of lecturing, he started listening. Know what happened? Within 6 months, his son was calling him for advice, not because Bill demanded respect, but because he earned it by being respectable. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his personal diary, and this diary became one of the greatest books ever written. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. In family terms, that means the best way to deal with disrespectful children is to be so consistently loving and wise that they can't help but notice the difference. Here's the practical part. Stop trying to change them and start modeling what you want to see. If you want respect, be respectable. If you want love, be loving. If you want them to call more often, make every conversation so pleasant they actually look forward to talking to you. And here's something that might surprise you. Sometimes the reason our kids push back isn't because they don't value our wisdom, but because they're trying to prove they can stand on their own 2 feet. That's actually a sign you did something right in raising them. Later on, I'm going to share a phrase that can instantly diffuse any family argument. It's so simple, you'll kick yourself for not thinking of it sooner. But first, let's talk about something that drives everyone crazy.
That's the way the cookie crumbles. Your mother probably said that to you 100 times growing up. And you know what? She was on to something bigger than she realized. See, life has a funny way of not asking your permission before it changes the rules. One day you're planning for retirement, the next day the economy tanks. You expect your body to work the same way it did when you were 30, but now your knee sounds like a rusty gate. The folks who stay angry all the time, they're fighting reality. It's like trying to argue with the weather. You might raise your voice, but the rain's still going to fall. But here's what the wise ones figured out centuries ago. Acceptance isn't giving up, it's growing up. When you stop fighting what you can't control, you free up all that energy to work on what you can control. Think about Johnny Cash. Now, there was a man who knew how to handle life's curveballs. He went through addiction, career setbacks, health problems, you name it. But he never lost his dignity because he understood something profound. You can't control the music, but you can control how you sing along. Epictetus put it this way: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This man knew something about having the deck stacked against him. He was born a slave, became disabled, and still became one of the most respected teachers in history. Here's a technique that'll change your life. When something goes wrong, and something always goes wrong, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" or "How can this make me stronger?" I learned this during the recession when I lost a job I'd had for 15 years. I was madder than a wet hen, ready to blame everyone but the man in the mirror. Then my wife said something that stopped me cold. You can either be a victim or a student, but you can't be both. That's when I realized that every setback is actually a setup for a comeback, if you're wise enough to see it that way. The cookie crumbles, that's just life. But you get to decide what kind of cookie you're going to bake next. Now, let's talk about something that'll really test your patience, trying to communicate in a world where everyone talks, but nobody listens.
Don't beat around the bush. Now, there's a phrase that used to mean something. Back in the day, if you had something to say, you said it straight. None of this dancing around feelings and walking on eggshells. But somewhere along the line, the world got complicated. Now everyone's got to be politically correct. Everyone's feelings are fragile as spun glass. And Lord help you if you speak your mind the way your father did. Here's what drives me up the wall. People who make you guess what they're thinking, then get mad when you guess wrong. It's like playing charades with someone who's blindfolded you first. But you know what John Wayne understood? Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is tell someone the truth, even if it's not what they want to hear. Not mean truth, honest truth. There's a difference. Seneca wrote something that every straight shooter should memorize. Every new thing excites the mind, but it's the old truths that change lives. In other words, sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is tell the simple truth. Now, I'm not saying you should go around hurting people's feelings for sport, but there's a way to be honest that actually helps people instead of hurting them. Here's the secret. Lead with respect, follow with truth. Instead of saying, "You're doing it wrong," try, "I learned something the hard way that might help you." Instead of, "That's stupid," try, "Here's another way to look at it." I watched a master at this in action, my neighbor Earl, who could tell someone they were being a knucklehead and somehow make them thank him for it. His secret? He always spoke to people's potential, not their problems. When his grandson was making poor choices, Earl didn't lecture him about what a disappointment he was. Instead, he said, "You're too smart to keep making the same mistake. What do you think needs to change?" The key is this. People can handle the truth if they know you're on their side. But if they think you're trying to tear them down, they'll fight you even when you're right. And here's something that'll surprise you. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Speaking of things that test your patience, let's talk about this brave new world of social media and smartphones and why it's making everyone crazy.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Whoever said that never met my cousin Betty, who learned to use a computer at 75 and ended up running an online business selling her quilts. But I get it. This modern world moves faster than a greased pig, and sometimes it feels like you need a PhD in technology just to order a pizza.
Between smartphones that are smarter than their owners and social media that's more anti-social than social, it's enough to make anyone want to go live in a cabin in the woods. Here's what gets my goat. People half your age acting like you're past your expiration date just because you didn't grow up with a computer in your back pocket. They treat you like you're some relic from the dinosaur age, when the truth is, you've got more wisdom in your little finger than they've got in their whole body. But here's what Marcus Aurelius knew. This man ruled an empire without Google, mind you. He said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself in your way of thinking." The secret isn't learning every new gadget that comes down the pike. The secret is learning what actually matters and ignoring the rest. You don't need to be on TikTok to be relevant. You don't need to understand why people take pictures of their food before they eat it. And you sure don't need to get into arguments with strangers on the internet. Here's what I learned from watching my generation try to keep up with technology. The folks who stay happiest are the ones who learn what they need to learn and ignore what they don't. My friend Harold spent 6 months trying to figure out every feature on his new smartphone, getting frustrated and angry every day. Finally, his grandson said, "Grandpa, you don't need to know everything. Just learn to make calls, send texts, and take pictures. The rest is just bells and whistles." Best advice Harold ever got. Now he uses his phone like a tool instead of letting it use him like a fool. The truth is, you've adapted to more changes in your lifetime than any generation in history. You went from party lines to cell phones, from 3 TV channels to 300, from writing letters to sending emails. You're not too old to learn. You're just selective about what's worth learning. And here's something that might shock the young folks. Sometimes the old way is still the best way. A handwritten note still means more than a text. A face-to-face conversation is still worth more than a video call. And treating people with respect never goes out of style. Now, let's talk about something that's really poisoning people's peace of mind these days. Social media ain't social. Truer words were never spoken. It's like calling a TV dinner home cooking. Sure, it's got all the parts, but something important got lost in the process. You ever notice how people can be meaner on the internet than they'd ever dream of being face-to-face? It's like road rage for your eyeballs. Keyboard warriors who wouldn't say boo to a ghost in person suddenly become experts on everything, from politics to parenting. And don't even get me started on the comment sections. It's like watching people throw mud at each other while standing in their Sunday best. Here's what Epictetus would say about all this digital drama. And remember, this man knew about real hardship. Wealth consists in not having great possessions, but in having few wants. In internet terms, that means peace of mind comes from not needing to win every online argument. But here's the thing that really gets me. People getting all worked up about what strangers think about their vacation photos or political opinions. It's like caring what people in the next county think about your lawn care. I watched my nephew get into a 3-hour argument on Facebook about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. 3 hours! He could have made a pizza, eaten it, and taken a nap in that time. You know what Frank Sinatra never did? He never argued with hecklers in the audience. He just kept singing. Because he understood something these internet warriors don't. Your energy is precious, and you can't afford to waste it on people who don't matter. Here's my rule for social media, and it'll save you more heartache than a good cardiologist. Before you type anything, ask yourself, is this helping or hurting? If it's not helping, don't hit send. And if someone's being a knucklehead online, remember this, you can't reason someone out of a position they didn't reason themselves into. Save your breath for something worthwhile. The beautiful thing about getting older is learning what deserves your attention and what doesn't. Most of the stuff people argue about online won't matter tomorrow, let alone next week. Your peace of mind is worth more than being right about everything. And trust me, the people who matter in your life don't need to see you win internet arguments to respect you. Now, let's talk about something that should be the best part of your life. These golden years that everyone promised would be so wonderful.
Your golden years should shine. That's what they told you, right? Work hard for 40 years, raise your kids, pay your dues, and then you get to enjoy the good life. But sometimes it doesn't feel so golden, does it? Maybe you're dealing with health problems nobody warned you about. Maybe retirement isn't as comfortable as you planned. Maybe you feel like the world passed you by while you were busy building your life. And the worst part, sometimes you feel invisible, like your experience doesn't count for anything anymore, like you're just taking up space until it's time to check out. Well, let me tell you something that'll set the record straight. You're not winding down, you're just getting started on the most important part of your life. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his greatest work until he was older than most of you. Ronald Reagan didn't become president until he was 69. Grandma Moses didn't start painting until she was 78 and painted some of her best work in her 90s. Your value isn't in how fast you can move or how much you can lift or whether you understand the latest technology. Your value is in what you've learned, what you've survived, and what you can teach. Every mistake you've made and recovered from is wisdom. Every challenge you've overcome is strength. Every relationship you've navigated is experience. You're not a has-been, you're a know-how. I know a gentleman named Walter who spent 30 years as a machinist, then felt worthless when he retired, thought his skills were obsolete. Then he started volunteering at a technical school, teaching young people the craftsmanship that computers can't teach. Now these kids line up to learn from him, and he says he's never felt more valuable in his life. Turns out what he thought was obsolete was actually precious. Here's what Seneca understood. As each day arises, welcome it as the very best day of all, and make it your own possession. We must seize what flees. Your golden years aren't golden because everything's easy. They're golden because you finally have the wisdom to know what really matters and the courage to let go of what doesn't. You've earned the right to speak your mind, to choose your battles, and to spend your time on people and things that actually matter. That's not retirement. That's graduation. But here's the most important part. And this is what'll help you hit the nail on the head with everything we've talked about today. Hit the nail on the head. That's what we're going to do right now. We're going to nail down exactly how to never let anyone steal your peace again. After all these years, after everything you've been through, you deserve better than letting some knucklehead ruin your day. You've survived too much and learned too much to let anyone else control your emotions. Here's the simple truth that changes everything. You can't control what people do, but you can control what it means to you. That rude cashier? She's probably having the worst day of her life. Your inconsiderate neighbor? He might be dealing with problems you can't imagine. Your disrespectful relative? They might be struggling with their own insecurities. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it explains it. And when you understand that most people's actions have nothing to do with you and everything to do with what's going on inside their own heads, you stop taking it personally. Clint Eastwood said something in an interview that stuck with me. I don't let anyone's opinion of me affect my own opinion of myself. That right there is wisdom worth its weight in gold. Here's your action plan, and this works every single time if you work it. First, before you react, pause. Count to 4, like we talked about earlier. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Second, remember that anger is expensive and peace is priceless. Every minute you spend angry is a minute you can't spend happy. Third, focus on what you can control. Your response, your attitude,
your choices. Let other people own their problems. Fourth, choose your battles like you're spending your life savings, because you are. Your time and energy are your most valuable possessions. And finally, remember that the best revenge against someone who tries to steal your peace is to live so well that they become irrelevant. You know what the strongest thing you can do is? Walk away from people and situations that consistently rob you of joy. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. At your age, you've earned the right to surround yourself with people who appreciate you and situations that bring out the best in you. Everything else is optional. Marcus Aurelius left us with words that should be carved in stone. How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does, but only to what he does himself. That's it. That's the secret. Stop worrying about what everyone else is doing wrong and focus on doing your own life right.
Like a fine wine, you get better with age, but only if you don't let life's troubles turn you bitter. You now have the tools that emperors and presidents use to handle difficult people and challenging situations. You know how to protect your peace, preserve your health, and maintain your dignity no matter what life throws at you. Remember, you didn't come this far just to come this far. You've got wisdom to share, love to give, and good years ahead of you. Don't let anyone steal that from you. If this resonated with you, and I hope it did, do me a favor and hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel because we're building a community of people who refuse to let the world steal their peace. Leave me a comment and tell me which piece of advice hit home for you. I read every single one, and your stories inspire more videos like this. And remember what Seneca said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Today can be the day you stop letting other people control your emotions and start controlling your own destiny. Your golden years are supposed to shine. Don't let anyone dim that light. Until next time, keep your chin up, your standards high, and your peace intact. You've earned it.